In a world where we have everything and it's still not enough, we're often left wondering, is this really it?
Deep inside, you know there's more to life. You're ready to leave behind the old push your way through and claim the deeper, more meaningful life that's calling you.
That's what we invite you to explore with us.
We're your hosts,
Stephanie Allen
and Maren. And this is the Soulful Leader Podcast.
Yay!
There's something I've been hearing a lot of people talk about recently about feeling burned out in their jobs, and whether it's an entrepreneurial thing or it's actually a job that they're going to, and yet not wanting to make the shift to doing something else because they don't know how to, because they don't know what. And it was really brought home recently when I was talking to somebody. I was at a conference recently, and there was a gentleman there, and he really wanted to step into something more. And he felt, you could feel his excitement when he talked about it, like what he wanted to do. He wanted to speak, and he wanted to really reach people. And he had built his business, and something had happened, and it deteriorated. He built it again, and then somebody stole money, and then he built it again. So he's done this 3 times. He's built a very successful business 3 times. And there was a question for him. Somebody said to him, so if you decided not to do the speaking thing, if it feels too overwhelming and you don't want to do that, what would you do? And it was so interesting to watch him, because all of his energy just kind of like dropped into himself. And he very clearly said, he projected it, and he had some strength behind it. He had none of his enthusiasm that was there. And he said, I would build the business again. And it was like somebody snuffed out his candle.
Mm.
And you could tell he could do it in his sleep. He could build that business in his sleep, which I think a lot of people would be like, shit, well, I want to do that, right? And he's not at that place. And that's what I'm hearing more.
There was no ignition. There was no joy. There was like, yeah, okay, I can do this again, right? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, for him.
Yeah, and I think I've encountered that both in my own life as well, of like where you can just do something on autopilot, and there's no. It's not that it doesn't matter to you. It's not that it's not meaningful, but that you haven't put the meaning into it. Like you haven't shown up to be present to it. And then if you did show up to be present to it, then you might say, "Why am I doing this? Like this just doesn't." Is that what I'm hearing too? It's like,
well,
doing something in your sleep on autopilot. Like, how many of us do that?
Oh gosh, yeah. And here's the thing is, I think in building the business those 3 times, it was meaningful to him. There was something there.
Mhm.
And it was like, okay, been there, done that. And yes, it will pay my bills. My family will be secure. All of the outer things that society
Mhm.
tells us. All right, like he had climbed the mountain. He was at the top of it. And it was like, okay, I should be happy, excited, fulfilled, all of this stuff. And he wasn't
Mhm.
feeling that. And so there was this other part of him that's like, well, what's next? What's the more? Because he felt like, I have meaning. I have all of the stuff. I have the money coming in. I have the meaning. I'm doing something, right? And yet there was still this niggling, like, there's something more. What the heck is it? And I think that that's a scary place, because it
Well,
means you need to go ahead.
I was like, sometimes you're saying, what got you there isn't going to get you to the next place that you want. Like that
Mhm.
it's like the external motivation to take action on something, you can keep repeating it and keep getting that, but all of a sudden it comes to a point where it becomes unfulfilling. It's
Mm.
just it's just a habit. You can do it in your sleep kind of thing. What would it be in an internal journey in? Meaning, it's that old saying of saying, "You don't know what you've got till it's gone." In the way of,
Tell me
like,
about that.
well, I often, because I'm in healthcare, I often think about, changing bodies, our aging bodies, and all of a sudden it's like, "Oh god," I used to think I was fat. Now I look at that picture and I'm like, "Oh, if I could only have that body back again, I was so great." But in the time I didn't, so it's like, what was motivating me externally that I wasn't able to see the internal, what it meant?
If you could show up now, right? So maybe it's asking the question from your future self
Mhm.
of, like, if you could show up now to that person who thought that she was fat and be like, "What are you looking at? What are you judging yourself by?
And what are you comparing yourself
What
to?
are you comparing yourself to? What's the value
Yeah.
system?" Because I think about that for this gentleman of, like, if he could go forward, because right now he's like, "Well, do I just stay where I am, which is comfortable, I know how to do it, and it checks all the boxes,
Mhm.
or do I really dive inside and find out what's calling me?" Which is scarier than all get out. And if his
Yeah, only because
future
we
self
don't have the skills to do that, and we don't know what we're gonna find, and so we have this narrative that it's scary, and so therefore, why would I do something that's scary? Or we have this narrative that it's going to be painful and unpleasant, and it could be, or that it's just gonna be Pandora's box and it's gonna unleash a whole lot of things I don't really wanna look at.
Mm.
But what if it isn't? What if all of those things aren't true?
Well, and that's where I'm thinking, like, if he could, any of us could go to our future self and ask those questions of, what are you judging that by? Is it by society standards? Is it because of X, Y, and Z, right? Looking at, where does that judgment come from? Because if we can clear where the judgment comes from, then it frees up some space to be present to what really wants to happen. Because th here was what I was thinking when he was talking, is there is something that excites him that's like, it's a little bit scary, and it's a little bit on the edge, and he doesn't know how to get there, right? What you just said of, like, what got you
Mhm,
here won't get you there, and he's already at the top. So why would he risk all of that?
mhm. For what?
For what?
And for why? Mhm.
And so if you could look at, well, what's the judgment system telling me that I'm already at the top and I have it all? And then Byron Katie has this great system where she asks, is it true? And
Yeah.
asking that question of really questioning ourselves, like, if you were able to go back and tell that, younger self, well, you're not actually fat. Well, you know what? Your younger self is not going to believe that. If you were able to go back and tell your younger self, question it. Question it.
Yeah,
Question if it's
yeah, like,
true.
we become so, question everything outside of ourselves, but we don't question the internal, do we?
Mm,
Like, we'll question governments, we'll question health policies, we'll question, our neighbors, we'll question all these other people and say, "Well, why are they doing that?" And we challenge it, but do we challenge the narrative that goes on into our head that says, "You're not good enough, you're not successful enough, you're not beautiful, you're not," whatever. And then we just so easily believe it. Why?
mm,
Like, why don't we question the internal?
right.
I'm just really curious about that. I'm curious about that with myself, actually, to be honest with you. I'm like, "Yeah, why don't I question that?" Like, to be able to say, "Is that really true?" Or have I
Mm,
just conditioned myself to believe that it's true? Like, am I really that certain that that is absolute true? There's no space for questioning in there.
so it's so interesting because I just recently read a quote that was attributed to Mark Twain. I don't know if he said it or not. And it's it says that it's not what you don't know that will kill you. It's what you think you know for sure that just ain't so. And if that's not a prescription for question it. What it's like what you think you know, question it,
Mhm.
because it's just most likely not true, and it's running your life.
Yeah, and there's a big risk there though, isn't it, when you question it, and all of a sudden you create some space for that belief system to say, "Is that really true? Can I just question?" Like, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong or good or bad, just give it some space to just question it.
Mm.
Meaning you're gonna give your own consciousness some space to explore, maybe there's other views of this. Maybe there's other ways to approach this. But we become so absolute that this is the way it's gonna happen. I had a situation the other day when, there's some hard things that are going on in my town, and it's really stirred everybody's inner narratives up about, are we safe? Is everything going to hell in a handbasket, and it's only going to get worse, and we have these narratives, and I'm like, geez, I don't want to give that energy, but I don't want to ignore it either, because when we ignore it, it still gives it energy. We need to face it, but to face it with love and face it with curiosity and challenge it. It's like, well, is that true? Because if I believe that to be true, I'm going to give it all my energy, and I'm actually going to invest in it to make that happen. Because guess what? Our egos, we love to be right. So we are going to set it up to totally make sure that we are right. And that's all there is to it. So that's what I'm saying about question. And that's what kills us, by the way. If it doesn't kill us physically, it definitely kills our relationships. It kills us emotionally, kills us mentally. It doesn't help us
Not the
grow and feel.
questioning. Not the
Oh God,
questioning,
no, no, the certainty does. The
the
absolute certainty
certainty.
does. Yeah, it just limits us. So, to be able to really look at it without trying to fix it or force it. I think even just being, and we talk a lot about this too, of the stillness of being able to be uncertain without trying to fix it or change it, just to sit there in the uncertainty, surrender into it, because that is what's making space for possibilities to then find you.
So what makes that so difficult is that we're trained as high achievers. We've talked a little bit about this on this podcast before, of the apex of community, of our, like our systems of where we live, right? Like everything kind of bows to this god of achiever. Like that's the apex of what we
Mhm.
aspire to.
Right.
And if you've ever heard of, there's a system called spiral dynamics that started by Claire Graves, and several people have done some work with it. And Ken Wilber is somebody who's done a lot of work with it. And what it's showing is that this high achiever of who we all strive to be, is the perfect high achiever, is only, they're showing, halfway through our development, and the mystics would say that there's even more levels beyond that. But let's just say, for argument's sake, it's halfway through our development. That means that this place that we all aspire to, that we're like, yeah, that, I want that. We get there and we're all excited. And then there is this moment of, is this all there is?
Mm.
But I can't give up that high achiever, because it's supposed to be like the top. I made it.
Be all and
And
end all.
the be all and end all. Woohoo, right?
Yeah.
And for me to admit that there's something else, the next level, means I actually need to surrender. And I don't mean it in a, like, I have to give up all my worldly goods type of surrender. What I mean is that I have to let go of the identity that this is all there is. And that's the internal that you were just talking about.
Mhm. Yeah, to sit in the darkness, to sit in the unknown, to sit in the uncertainty, to give up that certainty allows for the transformation to happen.
And that's not something that's taught. because we're
Or
taught to be
encourage.
high achievers. Right.
Right.
We're taught to be doers, not beers. And there has to be there is both, right? It's not one
Yeah.
or the other. And it's scary to be a beer because we're not trained how to do it.
Hmm.
And one of the places that, like, a lot of the assumption is, well, okay, then I need to go to an ashram in India and live for 2 years to, like, get to that next place. And that may have been true in the past, and it's definitely not something that you have to be doing anymore. There is a path, and that's what we work with, is there is a path to doing it in your life, waking up to that next level and the next level and the next level within your own life.
Hmm. So how do we do it?
I think starting with that questing, that questioning that you were talking about of
Yeah.
what is what are the assumptions that I'm making? It requires inner work. It requires going
Okay.
inside.
So yes. So what if you took the assumptions and said, what are my assumptions? What do I
Mm.
believe is absolutely righteously right about? And then making a list of those and then putting on a piece of paper and then sitting back and just like looking at them and look at how you feel when you are absolute about that. Like, what does that do to your body, to your breathing, to your awareness? Where do you focus? And I'm not saying it's like this is just an awareness practice. This is not about right or wrong. And then who would you be without that belief?
Ooh.
Then like take each one of those beliefs and say, who would I be without that belief? What might be my life open me to?
Hmm.
Just as a practice, just as a curiosity and wonder?
It's so funny. I actually, it reminds me of somebody that I was working with, and she just contacted me and said, "You won't believe what opened up in my life." So was she owns a pizza place and has for years. When I owned my dance studio, her pizza place was right down the street from mine, and so she was very identified as the pizza owner, like the owner of the pizza place, and fought through like just crazy, crazy stuff to make this thing successful, and was very, very attached to that identity. And so we did some work around her identity and what's possible and all of those things, and whether it was actually true or not. And that was what, gosh, 2 years ago now, year and a half, 2 years ago. And like I said, she just contacted me and she's like, everything has opened up. It is amazing how different my life is. And I just wanted to say thank you. And so
Oh, that's a great story, yeah.
those questions, they make a huge difference. Like, she's
Well,
starting
yeah,
to public speak and she's doing all kinds of really, really cool stuff right now.
I think, to really look inside and listen to that inner narrative and assumptions and question it because, Henry Ford did say, those who think they can and those who think they can't are both right. And so we always are going to be right no matter what. So when you put those righteousness things down, just ask yourself, how are these directing my life? Are they moving me towards an ideal? Or are they disempowering me? Like what's happening internally?
I love
We tend
the
to, you know, yeah,
I love the question where you said, like, when you had them feel what it feels like in their bodies. Because
yeah.
our bodies, there was a book called Your Body Doesn't Lie. Is that what it was called? Our Bodies Don't Lie,
Or
something like that.
You Can Heal Your Life, Louise Hay.
No,
Or
yes, there is that one, which is a great
yeah,
book. Anyway, there's our bodies are like little thermometers for us. They tell us when we're on track, when we're off track, right? We can
oh yeah,
really get great information from them.
yeah. The body never lies. It always your physical body is speaking the voice of the unconscious. So
Hmm.
by the time it shows up in your body, it has been unconsciously going on in your mind, in your emotions, and in your heart and soul for a long, long time. And so the physical body is the densest of the manifestation. So, people will say to me, "Well, couldn't my knee hurts. Couldn't it just be because I twisted it and it hurts? Like, why does it have to have some sort of mental, emotional, and spiritual meaning to it?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's true. It can be just because you twisted it. It hurts. And if it doesn't get better and it continues to keep hurting, what is going on in the unconscious that keeps making it unable to heal or transform?
Hmm.
There's something blocking it. And that takes courage to look inside, to go into to patience, to sit in that place of not knowing, and absolute confidence that what you need to know or what needs to happen will actually arise itself and you will know what to do. So it's a practice.
I want you to go back and tell me a little bit more about the physical is the densest of the manifestations, because I think the rest of what you said will make sense, more sense, I should say, when
Yeah, like
there's that understanding.
when you take like a physical structure of anything, it's the slowest moving vibrational energy actually makes form. The more you can speed up the electrons and photons, the faster they go, the lighter they become, the less you're able to see them, the more spacious they become. Like they just so when we have a thought, a thought or an emotion, if they if we keep practicing them over and over, eventually they start slowing down, and they create a density. So in Chinese medicine, like we think of flow. So where there's pain or discomfort is where something gets stuck, like the thought or the emotion is not moving. It's now become concretized. It's become stuck. It's so present. And that's what we were talking about. Write down all the things that you are absolutely certain about. Like you just say, absolutely. That's that stuck energy. And whether it's true or not true, doesn't matter. It becomes stuck energy. And now there's no flow.
Mm,
So over time, when there's no flow, you think of any kind of water that doesn't flow, it becomes toxic. It doesn't even matter if it's the best water in the world. If it's not flowing,
it's
it is going to
stagnant.
become toxic. It's stagnant, and that stagnation then creates pain, stuckness, and that's our physical body. So our physical body, like, literally, if you are thinking something wonderful and happy, then you breathe deeper and the blood flows freely. But if you all of a sudden start thinking about something stressful, you tense up, you maybe tense those muscles, you may even slow down or even stop your breathing a bit. And now that internal circulation, that flow is not moving. You keep doing that day in, day out, day in, day out, you're going to have some sort of stuck energy, pain, symptom over time. And you might think, well, I just woke up with a neck pain. How did this happen? I must have slept wrong.
Mm,
No, we probably had a thought or an emotion that we've been hanging on to. Just like we're certain we're hanging on to it. And the more you try to hang on to something that's actually meant to flow and move, like if you're going down the stream and you grab onto that branch because you're flowing in the rapids, you're like, dang, I don't want to flow in these rapids. And you grab onto that branch, but the rapids keep moving and you're trying to hang on to something, it's gonna pull that arm right out of its socket. It's gonna hurt. That's why the Hopis say, push off from the shore, get out into the middle of the river and find that flow. And just like your beginning story of he 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 had a he had a current that he could repeat, but it wasn't his flow. It's not the direction he
right.
wants to keep going. He knew that his river was changing and he didn't quite know where to go. And so we just default back into our habitual patterns, even though they may not necessarily be nourishing to us.
Right. And what was nourishing to us can change. I think that's the other piece, is that we assume that once we have a winning formula, that that's our winning formula. And if we change, we're going to become a losing formula. And what we
Right,
don't
and
realize
if
is
you ate
that
broccoli and spinach every single day in, day out, you're gonna miss some vital nutrients and minerals.
right.
It doesn't matter how good it is. It's like, sometimes we do need something else, and it's
Well,
time to
and
change our diet.
yeah, as we change, we need to actually notice that, oh, the river went that direction and I'm still over here. I'm now in the stagnant pool, right?
Right.
Because I tried to hold on to the branch. That was my
Or I'm
winning
in an
formula.
eddy and I'm spinning.
Yeah.
I'm in the whirlpool, and at first it was kinda fun, and now I'm just spinning, and I
Now I'm
don't know
just
how to get out
spinning.
of it.
Right.
Now I'm just spinning.
And I'm afraid to let go of the branch. And there is a different winning formula for you. It will take that awareness and the practices that you mentioned before.
Mm.
I love these conversations. Thank you for having it with me. And hopefully you all, our listeners, are enjoying it. I will make sure that all of those questions are in the show notes. So make sure you check that out. It'll be wherever you listen to your podcast, they publish show notes, or you can find it on our website. The Soulful Leader podcast itself has a website. It's www.thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com, or you can find us on our normal website, which is tslp.life, because we are all about standing for life.
Mm.
And you can find us on social media too, at the Soulful Leaders. So we look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks, and let us know how this resonated with you and what questions you have for us. We look forward to talking to you.
And that wraps up another episode of the Soulful Leader podcast with your hosts, Stephanie Allen
and Maren Oslack. Thank you for listening. If you'd like to dive deeper, head over to our website at thesoulfulleaderpodcast.com.
Until next time.